So why don't we go ahead and get started with this webinar. Hello, my name is Chad Cunningham. I will be your facilitator through this Alice Train Institute webinar series called Critical Thinking Exercises. The topic for this webinar actually came out of our Age Appropriate seminar that we had a month or so ago. And a lot of feedback that we got from you guys was, hey, that critical thinking exercise that we saw, how do we do that? And so we figured we'd put something together real quick for you guys and just have something to follow. If you're wanting to do kind of these critical thinking exercises or just a quick presentation to your staff or students or colleagues on how to start thinking of responding to a stimulus or an incident. Those of you that might have been attended our two-day classes, this is actually a project that we have people do on day 2, so it might be a little review, but really kind of going in on how can we manipulate PowerPoint or other presentation software to kind of do what we want to do. So at the end, in the next couple of days after this webinar, it will be available for you to view, so you don't have to worry about that. If you get a call or need to go somewhere, it will be sent out to you at the end. So without further ado, I think we're all getting ready to start, but I want to start with actually an exercise. Let's see what one is, and then we'll see how we can actually develop it. So here we go. So here we have eating at lunch at work, and we have a stimulus. Now after the stimulus, it's what would you do? Now we have the decision slide. We have to have our areas decide what we want to do. So what I'd like to do is have a response, and you guys decide where we want to go. So we're going to do a poll that's going to come up. Should we lock down based on the video we just saw? Should we counter based on the video we just saw? Or should we evacuate based on the video we just saw? So there'll be a polling that will come up, and go ahead and answer on what you feel. Okay, we got a lot of people that thinks they should counter. A couple people think we should evacuate. Nobody wants to lock down with the intruder. Okay, he seemed like a nice guy though. All right, so we have majority that says counter. All right, so what happens when we look at the counter strategy? So we're going to go over here and select the counter, and this is our outcome. If we decide to counter, able to evacuate, able to control, able then to make distance. So that was one of the best options for that scenario. So great job, everybody. But just because that was the best option, I don't want to stop here. I want to know why, and I want to discuss, so let's go back. Why didn't anybody, well, our second one was evacuate. Evacuate would have been a good response. I want to get out of that area. That's always something we want to look at. But if in our evacuation, if we don't counter and just try evacuate, it doesn't really have that effectiveness. We need to make sure we counter first, disrupt that ability to shoot accurately, interrupt his OODA loop, that 1.5 to 1.6 seconds from processes of a stimulus and being able to get back up on target. So just evacuate by itself wouldn't work. It's an okay, but we need to do something prior to. Let's go back and look at, what about lockdown? Nobody wanted lockdown with our intruder. One, it's very hard to lock down. There's no doors at this area. This is an open area. Most people we see that would automatically start going underneath or trying to hide somewhere. And again, it's very easy for the attacker to bend and be able to see everybody that's there. So as we look at those decisions, we can explain and know how to follow through and really get the information on why each decision and the outcome from each decision. And then we need to end the situation. All right, so that is exercise that you can do. So how do we make this exercise? Well, in order to get started, we need to look at some items. What you're going to need. One, you're going to need some type of software that does presentations. Right now, we're using the PowerPoint. So you can use PowerPoint as a software. Some of you that may be in the schools, you might be using Google Slides. That's all of our PC world and areas, but I didn't forget about my Macs. Mac people, you may be using Keynote. So you just want to use some type of software that allows you to provide slides and presentations. And most of these all work very similar in how you develop them. So we're going to develop the rest of these in PowerPoint, but you can see where they can go for each area. Now also you're going to need some type of recording device. One type of recording device you can use is a camera, 35 millimeter that can record. It can be a camcorder, but most of us I know is going to probably use your cell phone. The way technology is with our cell phones nowadays, it's very easy to take video. Now with our cell phones, as you take video with them, I always get a lot of people saying, well, it's very difficult to get the video from the phone to the computer to our presentation software in order to develop the slides. The best way I found going from cell phone to the computer is as you click on your pictures, you can go in and either save it to Google Drive or OneDrive if you have Microsoft. That way it automatically takes it up to the cloud, over to the other format, and then you can just download it from your cloud storage. And that's an easy way to get that video off of your phone, iPhone or Android, into your computer. So we have the software areas, and then kind of the bigger thing is we need to have an event. We need to have an idea of what do we want to train on, what do we want to really test and inform people within this exercise. So really this is all you need in order to get going. And some days, this one here can be one of the hardest ones to really find, is that event. Where are we going to do it as an event? Now, after I get all this put together, I know what presentation software I'm going to use, I know what my event's going to be, I start laying out my slide deck, because I always like to start laying my slide deck out first, and then I know what I'm going to need to start with. And really there's minimum of 7 slides in one of your exercises. You're going to have a title slide, an event slide to set up the decision, a decision slide, basically our what do you do, our outcome slide, and you're going to have 3 outcome slides, one for lockdown, one for counter, one for evacuate. Remember, alert and inform is going to be in that decision, or I'm sorry, the event slide. So you can add that as part of the video in your event slide. And then you can have some type, you can end with a conclusion slide or a thank you slide, or really, if you want multiple exercises in one deck, you just go right to a different title slide and start all over again. So 7 can be the start of a new deck or an introduction of a new deck for a new exercise. So these are the 7 that you already did. Now I'm gonna jump out of this PowerPoint presentation because I want to show you how do we look at presenting this. So as we have here, what I ended up doing is all my videos I have stored over here on my desktop. That way it's easy to find the videos. I ended up taking videos, those videos you saw, I actually took 2 days ago in our lunchroom here at Alice headquarters. I took it on my iPhone 7 and uploaded, downloaded, and threw them in this folder. It's just easier to find as you go through to design your slide deck. Now, as you see all of our slide deck, first thing we're going to start with is basically our title slide. You can put critical thinking exercises, you can put it as a webinar, it can be at lunch, at school, wherever you want. So you can title your slide wherever we need. So that's the first one. Second one is the event slide. The event slide is really looking at what's your event going to be. Today we just put eating lunch at work. So on my event slide, again, I don't want a lot of words. It's easier to really to look at, allowing them to see a video. You can have sound inside your video. You can not have sound depending on how many takes you're doing and what everybody says. And sometimes it's just easier to delete the sound and go off of the regular video. But how do I end up really installing and inserting the video into a slide? Now, I'm going step by step on these through this PowerPoint, and some of you might go, Chad, I know how to do that. But some of us might be like, hey, what's a good way to do it? So I'm just going to kind of take it from the bottom and work our way up. This is a skill that you already have. Awesome. If not, then we're going to show you how to do it. Easiest way I found, especially when you put a new slide in, you have your title slide and your text. Most of them, they have these icons. All I'm going to do is select the icon that says insert video. As I insert video, it will go to my PC for video. Depending on where I have it located, on where I want. So I can go to my desktop. I can find my folder that says video thinking. And then I want to look at which video do I want to use. Well, this is our event, so I'm going to select there, select the event, lunchroom, and insert. Software automatically puts the video right in the middle, in the same frame. Now, if we like it there, that's fine, but we need to look at how can we manipulate the video, because we might want to do different items. Sometimes when we video, especially on our iPhone, we might get extra noises. We might have some items in the front or the rear that we really don't want to show, but we don't have time to re-record. You can actually go in and trim your video. In the original video here, I ended up using this because you could hear me talk, and it took a long time for our bad guy to come around the corner. Well, I don't want people to sit there for 10 minutes while my bad guy comes around the corner. So I can manipulate, see where it starts. If I want to end it a little bit sooner, now I've just adjusted, I can trim it. I select OK. I can check it if I want to. But now that video is going to start a little sooner. He comes in a little sooner compared, and it stops a little sooner. So I can manipulate and trim that video to where I want it. Now, I like it to play full screen so everybody can see it. So as I play full screen, I select there. If I want to manipulate the volume, there's my volume area. If I want to mute it, so I can control everything right there. If I want a little lower or a little louder. And then how do I want the video to play? If I want to talk before the video begins, I'm going to leave it in click sequence. If I want it to play immediately when I go to the slide, I select in the start, and I would select automatically. Or if I just want to click on it, because again, this is the only thing I can select one click on. But on the outcomes, I usually put automatically, so they automatically see that outcome. On the event, it just depends on what I'm feeling that day, really. I like to talk a lot, so sometimes it's in click sequence is where I go ahead and put it in there. But I always play it in full screen so everybody can see it, and I'm ready to go. So my event, eating lunch, is already there. Most of you can see down here, I have some notes. In the beginning, as I'm thinking and getting my event in my brain, I kind of write an outline. And remember, in these critical thinking exercises, we have really three major areas. We have the event that takes us up to a stimulus and then stops. We have a decision that they have to make, and then we have outcomes. So I kind of break my outline up into those three big categories and fill in where it needs to be. In my event section, I put my little scenario of how I want to film it, and then I put in exactly what am I going to need in order to film it. How many people am I going to need? What's the location? Who's, any props that I need in order to use to film the video. So as I do that, and then I can put it into my presentation. And if I'm talking, because again, this is all instructor led, so you're talking to them, it kind of can remind you of some talking points that you want to put into your presentation as you brief it. So the second slide, the third slide of the deck we're going to look at is the decision slide. That what would you do? Now, looking at our areas, I could come back here into home. I could change my layout, and I want title and content. Well, when I select title and content, I have my title up here and my contents down in here. Well, here I pre-erased it all. So I just can put a text box in here also. In here we have lockdown, we have counter, and we have evacuate. Now at that font size, nobody is ever going to see those. So again, we have to highlight. I like to use Myriad Pro, and we're going to get them that everybody can see. We'll do it 48. I like space. All right, now in the exercise you saw before in the example, we were able to link out from these words. Once everybody chooses, and again, you're talking to your group, and you're saying, all right, which ones, what should we do after what you just saw? And you start taking that poll verbally from your group. Well, in order to link out to other slides, what you're going to do is highlight the word. Then you're going to come up into your insert, the ribbon on top, select insert. Under insert, you have links, the tab of links. Under links, you're going to want an action because you want that word to do something for you. Inside action, you have mouse clicks or mouse overs. And what kind of action do you want that highlighted area to do? Well, we want it to hyperlink. And we can hyperlink to the next slide, a previous slide, first, last, the last slide viewed. So if you want to go back, you can have it in the show. You can customize it. We just want it to go to a different slide. So we're going to select slide. Once we select the slide, we need to know what slide do we want it to go to when we click it. Well, now it gives us our whole deck here, and I've already pre-populated my deck for time. And we're going to go down here to the lockdown, which is slide 13. So once I select slide 13, it gives me a preview of what it is, and I select OK. Now, that one's good. And we're just going to repeat that motion. So I'm just going to do it real quick. I'm not going to go through it all. I'm going too fast, let me know. But it's just the same thing. You're going to see it 3 times. All right. So we're going to counter and then evacuate. Again, links. So it's insert, links, action, hyperlink. We want to go to slide. And we're going to go to the evacuate slide, which is number 15 in this deck. In your deck, it could be 4, 5, and 6 if you're just doing a one exercise. So I have all my actions ready to go. I know they're linking out to there because I saw the preview. So now let's go to our outcome slides. First outcome slide we're going to do is lockdown. Again, especially when doing presentations, you don't want a lot of words. Presentations, you know, PowerPoint presentations, I always say 6 by 6, no more than 6 by 6, and then some of it's even going a little bit further. 6 by 6 just means 6 lines, 6 words per line. Some places have even gone 4 by 4. So really, the less words, the better off you are. Videos tell everything, right? Pictures tells 1,000 words. So I always like in the lockdown, showing what the response, the outcome would be from their decision, and then you can discuss it. So again, we're going to provide the same area. We're going to select. We're going to look at lockdown, insert. Now this one, as we said, I like to do these automatically. I still want it full screen. I'm not going to trim it, and I'm good to go. Again, I can add my notes in here, talking points that I may need when I'm discussing the outcome, and then I just repeat. Counter's the same way. So I come in, counter, insert, I know it probably doesn't, you're all thinking, why is he putting it in the center? It doesn't matter because he's going to put play full screen, because I just like stuff centered. It's just an OCD thing. Again, my notes here, pre-populated. And some of you that know me are probably saying, no, he does not have OCD, so why does he do that anyways? So kind of put it in the middle. I come up to my playback, play full screen. I want to do automatic. If I want to format my video for any purpose, just in case we're showing it, you can come in, you can add posters, you can manipulate that. You can manipulate the shape if you want to. You can crop the area. So different things you can do under format. Playback is all what's going to happen when it gets played back. Just a little bit, not related to this, but on the side note, if you're somewhere at a presentation, or maybe you're doing a table at the local school for the PTA, all the kids are coming in, you have a little video, you have a little slideshow you want to do, or a video to play. If you select loop until stopped, that's actually what you do with videos in that kind of format. You can put a video in that you have, one slide, loop it, and you can just have that continuously play as you're at that event with the kids. So just a little extra, no extra charge. All right, so we have gone through all of our slides. So the 5 major ones, the 6 major slides we have. So we have our critical thinking, our title slide, we have our event slide that leads up to a stimulus for us to make a decision, and you always stop your video here. Don't let them respond to the stimulus. Provide the story, provide the stimulus, and stop. As you saw, remember with this one, that stimulus was coming through, they're at lunch. The stimulus is, this is one of our employees, TJ. The stimulus here is the weapon being pulled. And this is just a red gun that we used, because you want them to come to our 3rd slide, which is the decision. Now that we have all this, there's still something missing. Because if you remember, if we come down here and we slideshow this part, if I select, or go over here, if I select lockdown, we'll do it the way it is. You guys select a counter. It takes me to the counter slide. And what did I forget to do there? I didn't put that on automatic. So it's always nice to test it. Well, it takes me to the counter slide. So the video plays, everything's good, but then, whoops, I want to go back to discuss the rest of the options. Well, at that slide, I can't. There's nothing on this slide that allows me to go back. So we're going to have to go back. So there's nothing here that says, hey, go back to the options. So we're going to have to place on these options on how to hyperlink back to what would you do. So what do we do? Well, first we need to put a button in here. So we're going to select insert. We'll go over to shapes. You can do shapes, but it's just as easy, text box. I throw a text box in here, and we're going to go back to, we're just going to name it choices. You can name it whatever you'd like. We're just going to go with choices. Now, if I leave it just as is, I like it in the middle. If I leave it like it is, it's just kind of boring, and it just kind of sits there. It's hard to see. So we're going to have some fun with it. We're going to shape fill. So what you want to do is select your text box. You go up to format. You go over to shape fill. You have all these different shapes or different colors you can use in your shape. We're just going to use one we've used before. We'll use this dark blue. We'll use purple. Now the purple is a little dark, and the choices is the font color is dark. So it's really hard to see. So as it's highlighted, come up here, same format area, and select your white font. So now we're good to go. We can see the button. It's all there. Now, we need this button to do something, though. We need to hyperlink it. So it's the same action. Insert, links, action. As we hit it, we come down here to hyperlink to, because that's where we're going to go. And where do we want it to hyperlink? to a slide, and we want to come back to slide number 12, right there. So once I select slide number 12, the preview tells me where it would go to. That's exactly what I need. I select OK, OK. Now that button is ready to go. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't like to work too hard if I don't have to. So now as this text box is highlighted, I'm going to use a shortcut for cut and paste. So I'm going to Control-C on my typing board keyboard. There you go. See, we all have moments where we forget words. So on the keyboard, I'm going to select Control-C. Then I'm going to go to my counter slide. My counter slide, I'm going to select Control-B. Control-B allows me to paste whatever I copied on the slide. Now, another way I could do it, which most of us usually do, is I right-click on the highlighted area. I come up here, I copy. Once I select copy, then I can go to the next slide, right-click, then I hit paste, and it's there. I found over time using the keyboard works a little bit faster, especially if you have multiple items. So Control-C to copy, Control-B to paste, and let's say that you messed up a little bit. My favorite two buttons, Control-Z. That's the undo button. So if I use Control-Z, it takes it away, Control-B puts it back. All right, so now if we select lockdown, so we're on our slide here, and it keeps displaying. Let's switch this around. Now we're on our slide, our video plays out. Now I can select choices, and it brings me back to the decision slide. But let's say we've gone through every option we had. And if I go from here and I select next, where do I go? I go to the lockdown slide, because that's the order of the deck. But I don't want to do that. I want to either end it, or I want to go to another exercise. So again, we have to have our button. So I can Control-B. Let me jump out of the display here. I come into here, Control-B, the button comes up. But now it's called choices. So we're going to have to change the text in it, and we're just going to say end exercise. And the format for the link, our action is going to go to the wrong place. So the action for this one, we want to go to our thank you slide. So we select OK, we select OK. Now, and you're learning how to swap displays also as we perform this. Now we've gone through all of our options. We've explained why counter was the best option. We saw why evacuate is another good option, but we need to counter in order to evacuate more efficiently. We see lockdown really wasn't the best idea because it's an open area. We don't have any doors. There's nothing to do. So we've briefed everything. Now we're done. Now we can come over here to our end exercise button. Select it. And this is what happens when you do items live. Sometimes it works. Sometimes we adapt and overcome. So we're just going to go back in here. We're going to look at what do we have, what's our link. So you can right click also, select what link do we have. So let's come back up here. We're just going to do it even a different way. So sometimes as it comes, this happens. You're going to try to look at it when you're trying to fix it right before an event, and it's going to go off the rails. Don't panic, just go through it. So I deleted it, I put a new text box, an exercise. Again, coming back up here to format. This is for all of you going, man, I wish you would re-show how to do that button thing again. See, I hear you, even though you're muted. come in here. Again, I just like my words in the middle. I come back over, insert my link, action, hyperlink to the slide. We're going all the way at the end. Select OK, and we are good. So let's try this for the third time. So as you're presenting, if you need to switch your display settings, swap presenter, so you all can see it. Now I'm going to come over here, select an exercise, and we had the thank you. So it can work. Again, live, you always have some fun with it, because if it goes right, something went wrong. So that is actually the end of how do we use and how do we design these critical thinking exercises. I know I might have seemed a little fast. I preloaded some slides in there in our deck, but I wanted to make sure we had enough time. I like to take this time now is to really open it up for questions and answers. Anything you guys want to go back to, any other questions you might have, and we should be good. Now, I'm going to pass the mic over to our Director of Marketing.
One of the questions I just wanted to start off with, I know earlier in the presentation you talked about different devices that could be used for filming, and you had phones. Can you review the best ways to film on a phone?
Best ways to film on a phone. The best way I would suggest filming on the phone is, now she put me on the spot, because is it vertical or horizontal? I always get those confused. I'm sure it's like right and left, right? So the best way to film, because again, as you put it in the slide, your slides are elongated. You want it as a horizontal. Hold your camera horizontal. Because if you hold it vertical, you're only going to have a little bit of the video in the center of your slide. Most of your slides are 4:3 or 16:9. So you want that elongated approach, that horizontal approach, and that will give you a better picture when you actually place it inside your slide. Thank you for that question, Ms. Victoria Shaw, Director of Marketing.
Oh, thank you.
So any other questions? I know Colleen is looking at some. And
so we have a couple. One that just came through. They want to know, are there any critical thinking exercise videos pre-produced by ALICE that are available for use by ALICE instructors?
At this time, there are not. What we have found so far using these, again, we've been having our ALICE certified instructors in our 2-day school. This is actually one of the projects that they perform on how to develop these and how to deliver them, because again, as we start looking at, these are quick and easy. I don't want to say a tabletop, because it's a little bit different, but you can use them as just a quick meeting. Hey, let's review this and go. Because many times you want it better reflects in your training if it's your environment that you have. And that's the biggest part. If you can make it for your environment on these little items, it's just it gets people more involved, because, hey, I know what that desk is, or I know where that room is, I know where that, and it allows them to connect it both mentally and visually to how they're going to respond. And that's why we're kind of doing this today, because it is, ladies and gentlemen, very, very easy to do. Those videos I did in 10 minutes, just grabbed a bunch of our employees, went to our lunchroom, and just videoed it and downloaded it. So it's not a difficult process, just getting a little bit of, and it's not a very big time-consuming process, because you don't have to really edit a lot. You can do it all into your presentation software. Good question.
And I think related to that question, there are some other questions that come through, and I think a theme that comes around this is, by filming it yourself, you also, as an ACI, get the opportunity to provide some critiques while they're acting out the scenario. So it's an additional layer where you can help them understand the strategies that you're trying to feature in the videos as well.
Absolutely. You're the director. You're telling, your small group, and they're learning as you talk. Absolutely.
And then also, just as another reminder to everyone on the webinar, we will be sending out a recording to this. It will be available to everybody. We will send an email within a few days, so you will get a copy.
We had one more question. This is specific actually to your events film. In that counter video, the gun was left in his hand and there are no wrist control. Do you have a recommendation for students to make sure he cannot bend his wrist and continue to shoot?
Well, a lot of that, and again, as I said, I just kind of threw those together. I didn't want our employee being taken to the ground fully in the video, so we kind of stopped to show. But when we're doing control techniques, I've always told people it's all about hugs, not drugs when we control. It's having that great big hug and controlling that arm and those large motor skill aggression. So as we do that, you're really wanting to lock the joints of the shoulder and the elbow, because as you lock that joint of the shoulder and an elbow in that hug approach, and one hand's going up on the shoulder, one hand's going to the hip, you actually are locking it out when the elbow comes against the body. You're locking that elbow, you're locking that shoulder, and the wrist kind of just goes into play, locked in as that outcome. And I know you visualized all of that as I talked.
Take notes. We'll build something for that.
So hopefully that answered your question. But as you perform your videos for your organizations, and that's the thing, take a little bit of time, make sure that the techniques and tactics that you're showing are proper for what the strategies are of the program. All right, I'm being told there's no more questions. I appreciate you all taking the last 37 minutes with us. Hopefully this will help you delivering the strategies and the mission of the ALIS program, getting the word out there, getting more people involved. And if you guys always have any questions, on the screen you see my email. Please feel free to email me. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can, answering the emails. And just, be ready for our next webinar series, which is coming up soon. Or you can go on our website at www.alistraining.com, and in the ribbon, no, I'm being told. So
we'll put it in the email.
In the email coming out.
Yeah,
Again, folks, live webinars.
You will, when you get the recording, you will get a link to access the recording. It'll be on the webinar page. There are multiple ones on there.
And Chad is the star of them all, so sign up for all of them.
Wow, 50 people just left. No, just kidding. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will talk to you all later. Be safe, have fun.